Hi friends, this is Ashton Kaylee, and this week I'm bringing to you another watercolor review. This week I am going over the Field Artist watercolor insert tray. It's a set of 12 half watercolor pans that comes in a little metal tray, so it's basic colors. You may have seen it before. It came from Amazon and is packaged like this. This comes without a palette, and the reason why I chose that instead of the full Field Artist set is because I already have a palette that I think that it might fit in. This is the Art Philosophy Watercolor Prima set, the confections colors. So it's like skin tones, and I did review that before, and a link for you is in the upper right hand corner if you would like to check that out. But I thought that the Field Artist set looked very similar in size, so I wanted to see if it actually fit in this box because I didn't want to buy another palette because I already have a lot of art supplies and I'm kind of trying to pare down a little bit, and it can be just a huge pain to store everything, and then I feel bad if I'm not using things, so I'm trying to be a bit more economical with space and everything. So we'll check that out, see if it actually does fit, and see how those paints do. So here it is, guys. This is the paint tray insert from Field Artist Pro, the 12 half pan watercolor set. It's packaged very nicely. It came in this bubble wrap with labels, and they got a very nice insignia. This little insert paper doesn't really have anything pertaining to the quality of the paints. It's just safety information. So pulling it out here, this little tray looks identical to the one that comes in with the Primacolor water set. So this is my Primacolor confection set, and you can see here that the palette actually looks exactly the same as the one that's advertised in the full Universal Arts Field Artist set. So it fits perfectly. You can see the difference here. I've added a couple more pans. The 12 on the outside are from Primacolor. The 3 here in the middle are ones I've added later from Daniel Smith Colors, and they fit very nicely in the center here, so I like that a lot. The pans are actually slightly bigger from the ones that I added compared to the Prima watercolor set, so they fit in very nicely there. And the ones that I refilled are actually the exact same size as these here on the Field Artist set. So you can see here when I try to put them in the middle, they don't quite fit that way. You have to rotate the orientation a little bit, but it does fit. So let's get to actually testing out these watercolors. As always, I've prepped a swatch paper with some Sharpie going through every box so you can see the opacity with them. I'm using my standard 2-jar system, eyedropper, and just going to wet them all through. The paintbrush I'm using is the Princeton Velvet Touch in a size 8 long round. And we'll go ahead and see how these fare. And the paper is Canson watercolor cold press paper. So the color selection on this set I thought would be nice because they're just very basic colors that you might always want to have. And I looked on the website and on Amazon, and it does list some colors, although I don't think the colors that are listed are quite accurate as far as the colors or what you actually get. It does say that colors are subject to change without notice, so they can cover their bases that way. This should be somewhere around like a lemon yellow. I think that it's not all that lemony, and it is a little bit more opaque than I expected. This next one here looks kind of like a yellow ochre. The listing does not have a yellow ochre. It actually says orange or a gamboge, and I don't really feel like it's really that much like either of those. So far they're working out okay. They activate pretty quickly, but it looks like a little bit of water actually makes it look like you're using a lot out of the pan. That might be due to a lot of fillers, but I'm not really sure about that. So as always, I'm trying to get a smooth gradient, and next color up is this kind of peachy flesh color. On the listing, it could be this one that's listed as Caucasian Flesh. It's very light, not really a color I would go for just straight out of the pan. This next one is kind of a rose red, and that's exactly how it's listed too. Leans kind of pink, kind of cool. It's a pretty color. Next up we have this weird reddish brown. It looks to me almost like an Indian red. It could be listed here as, let's see, vermilion. To me, that's not really a vermilion, but I'm kind of picky with my colors. I think that's what they are calling vermilion. It's a little more brownish to me. Close. And our next color is a violet, which is on the color listings. It's very, very strong. I don't know why I skipped a square. It was totally an accident, so sorry about that. So next up we have a very general green on the listings. Let's see. There's only two greens listed. There's a sap green and a deep green. I am guessing this is supposed to be the sap green, which I, again, don't really feel like this is an accurate color name. This to me looks kind of like a, almost a yellow green. It's not, sap green is a lot earthier. It seems like this one is not only very opaque, but not the shade I would consider a sap green at all. Our next one is listed as a deep green, and it looks very emerald in my opinion. It's a pretty color, kind of leaning viridian emerald color. And so I'm having to redo this voiceover, so if my hand motions don't always match up with that, I do apologize, but the original audio was kind of trash, so I'm trying to help you all out. The next color listed on both listings for the insert tray or for the full set is a cerulean blue. And this is very, very opaque. I really do feel like these colors seems like a lot of fillers in them, which I am not liking right off the bat. The color selection again is okay. I do feel a little bit lied to though as far as color names and what you actually get. This next one is a Prussian Blue. That's kind of close. It's a little bit brighter. If Prussian Blue and Ultramarine had a baby, that's what you got here. So I'm going to fill in that blank space there with the brown that is listed. And this is listed as a sepia brown. And again, I think this is much darker. Wet, actually, it looks a little bit more sepia, but as it starts to dry, it actually got a lot darker and is leaning to me more like an umber or Van Dyke brown. And then this black here is basic black, a little bit warm for a black, but it's black. So we'll go ahead and let these dry, and then we'll do the lift test. So with a clean brush, I'm going to go ahead and reactivate these colors and try to see how well the paint lifts off. And so far, very, very easily. This could be a good thing for, especially for beginners. If you lay down too much pigment and you want to back it off a little bit, you can do some lifting. It could be problematic though if you want to do a lot of color layers and letting each layer dry. You're going to reactivate. This is lifting very, very easily, which immediately kind of red flags here for me. A lot of colors do just lift a little bit easier. Some of the darker, richer tones are a little bit more staining, so that is to be expected, but I'm finding that this whole set is lifting like really, really easily. And I don't usually do a test as far as light fastness. Hopefully when you buy paints you can see the light fast rating in there. These however did not come with them. If you want to see how these held up to a week of light, just wait until the end and check out that side-by-side scan. So right off the bat, I don't feel like these are really professional colors, but we're gonna keep going with them and see how they fare in actual practice. I am using the Arteza Watercolor Sketchbook here, and this is not like a great piece. It's just really a play piece that I'm trying to use a lot of the colors from the set, and this is on the smooth side of the paper. the Watercolor Sketchbook comes with kind of a cold press watercolor on one side, and the other side is a lot smoother. So this is the smooth side. The colors are, again, feeling like there's a lot of filler, not very rich with the pigment. You're seeing a lot of that paint move in the pan when you're activating it. And this darker blue, the one so-called Prussian Blue, is kind of granulating a little bit. You really got to mix in the water before laying it down because it wants to kind of separate. And I want some orange for my butterfly, so I'm using some of that yellow and some of that rose red, and I'm not getting a very clean orange. It looks kind of muddy and not very vibrant at all. It's quite opaque too. It's not giving me the effect that I want. So these colors in general don't have high transparency. They all look pretty opaque in my opinion. So I am gonna also try to do some layers, but for the start of this Buddha, we're using some of that so-called deep green and some of that yellow. You can see it feels kind of thick. Again, I think that's due to whatever they use as a filler. I read a lot of reviews on this set, and a lot of people seem to have liked it, especially for sketchbook work, so I thought I would give it a shot there. But I'll be honest with you, I am not impressed. And I don't think that I have super high standards when it comes to watercolor because it's not my main medium, but so far I'm not digging this set at all. It was quite cheap, and as I mentioned in the intro, I picked just the insert because there's a huge price difference between getting the insert tray on its own, which fits perfectly in this Prima watercolor confection tin. It's probably made by the same company and just rebranded and or by the same manufacturer and rebranded by several different companies. And the only difference between the insert and getting the full field artist set is you get 2 small paintbrushes that fit in there and a little sponge and the metal palette. I do like the metal palette, so I can't really speak to the quality of that comes with the actual field artist set, but if it's the exact same one as a Primacolor one, which it looks like, then the little tin is nice. At least you can refill it later with paints that you prefer. I wanted to like this set a lot. I really did. But so far it's not working for me. I am trying to go over with some more layers and just build it up, and a lot of the underlayers are reactivating, which again can be a good or a bad thing. It can help you blend, but if you're looking to lay on very transparent layers and build up slowly like glazes, this is not really the best set for you. If you like to sketch on the go and you only want some color to splash on there real quickly, I guess this could work for you. But I do find that with the fillers and the paint behaving the way that it is, it's not giving super clean lines, not really ending where I expect it to, even working wet onto dry paper. And you can tell in a lot of spots that the paint's coming out rather streaky, even from the swatch test. It wasn't coming out with a nice smooth gradient very easily. And I think that doing more and more of these type of reviews, I may be getting a little bit more picky as far as quality, but I wouldn't recommend these even for a beginner, to be honest. I'm honestly surprised that it had so many positive reviews on Amazon. I did try to look for some reviews on YouTube and I wasn't really finding them. I didn't search terribly hard, but I didn't see them. However, Amazon reviews led me to believe that this was going to be a lot better than it actually is. I think you can tell that These paints aren't a very high quality either, because my dirty water jar, while yes, it's gonna get funky and muddy with all the different colors, it looks gross. Like, it has no transparency, which some of the better paints, the color, yeah, might be kind of gross, but it's still semi-transparent. This just looks like a nasty mess. I really hate giving bad reviews, but I have never been so disappointed with a watercolor purchase as I have been this time. So yes, this insert set was way cheaper than buying the full set. So it was only about $8.99 US, and the full set is on Amazon right now for $28.99 US, which is a huge difference to not get that much more. If you are just wanting the tin and the brushes, I think you can find them separately at a better price, but the actual paint set really is not worth it, guys. I hope I have saved you some heartache and disappointment, but all in all, I would give this set a grade of an F, which is very hard for me to say. I feel like I'm not a mean person most of the time, and I gotta be real with you guys. This was such a huge disappointment. Thank you for watching. I hope that, again, I saved you some time, some money, and some heartbreak. If you want me to try out any other art supplies, please make sure to mention that down in the comments. I would love to know what you guys are looking for. I'm always looking for new stuff, and hopefully they're not too expensive, because I want to actually do them. And if they're as big as a disappointment, I don't want to spend too much. So here are the side-by-side scans of the watercolor swatch before and after, sitting in the window, a west-facing window, for a full 7 days. I live in El Paso, Texas, and this got a fair amount of sun, although we did have like 2 overcast days, and you can really see the difference just 1 week made. Huge fading, and some colors even disappeared completely. So I feel bad, but that was really bad. F.